Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's seminar. It's consulting interview from the interviewer's point of view, requirements and expectations of candidates. Today, I'm your moderator, Anton Belikov. I'm also a client manager at Consulting Masters. We have this webinar in collaboration with the SOAS Consulting Society, and I hope we have Jack Slavinsky today with us. We introduced. If not, I'll say that Jack Slavinsky is a co-host and co-president of SOAS Consulting Society. Yeah, great. So let's move forward. Let's know each other better. It will require some engagement from your side, guys. I'll ask some couple of questions. Just it will help us to know our audience better, and maybe if you can answer some simple questions for us. So first, please write where you're from, and while you're writing it, I'll start. I'm Anton from Lisbon, Portugal. Now I'm based here. We have Andrea from Bern, Switzerland. Sahil from India/London. Okay. Risky, Amsterdam. Givi from Georgia. Welcome. We have Manisha from India and currently from New Brunswick. I hope I pronounce it well. Camden, nice to see you again from London. Ukraine, we have Ukraine here. Kashmir, nice. All around the globe, people from all around the world. United because of this webinar. Anyone else? Paris. Great. All right. All right, we have also New Delhi, Ashish. Welcome. Let's move forward as we have some other questions to you guys. So can you please write why did you decide to join this webinar? Just in a few words. Or if you have more than one couple of words, you can write them. And it will be much better to turn on your cameras so we can meet your faces. Givy, hi. That's where, yeah, hi. So, why did you decide to join this webinar, guys? What are your expectations? Because I think I can promise you that we have something really interesting for you today. Anyone? You had a brilliant idea and wanted to share your knowledges with us. And this is from our coach Andrea. Good. Should we write or speak it up? You can write. At this stage, you can write. We will definitely have a Q&A session at the end, and you will have the chance to speak with us. Okay. Why this seminar? Maybe you got attracted with the name, with the title of this webinar, because we really have the interviewer and his point of view, and this point of view will be delivered to you right away. From my point of view, that's pretty exciting. I've been interested. Oh, Ashish had been interested in consulting as a career for some. Perfect. hoping to get a better understanding of the recruiting process. You will get it. Great. Thank you. Give you wants to find clearer path how to get to the point. Okay. You will. Thank you guys. Okay, let's move on. In general, why are you interested in consulting? Can you please, in a few words, what is so attractive for you in consulting, in top consulting firms? Let me give you a hint. The number one answer to this question is money. People always write this. Come on, guys. Why consulting? It's not a boring labor. It confronts you to multiple cases with different perspectives. Exactly. Andrea still pushing on money here. Thank you, Wasi. All right. Yeah. So I'm sure all of you all now the answers are here. So, okay, give you more management related cases to solve. Exactly. Diversity of work available. Perfect. Okay. I love the way consulting integrates realistic problem solving and all the career opportunities it brings. Perfect answer. Thank you, Camden. I like solving aspect of it. Frame a problem, deep dive in it, and drive impact. I see consulting as the most direct way to realize this as a career. Ashish, thank you for this really comprehensive answer. And yeah, great. It really helps us to understand the audience. So let's move on. Which company you would like to join? You actually see these companies on your screen. You can pick one. Which company, guys? Andrea wants to join Consulting Masters. I hope you will have this chance in your life, Andrea. If you try hard, Andrea, you will get. Yeah. Strategic consulting firms, yeah, in general, yeah, they all are. Yeah, like Bain, BCG, Deloitte, this McKinsey, all these top consulting firms are hiring, and together is really hard. Okay, Camden wants Bain or McKinsey. You're still choosing between those two. Yeah, definitely not in Big Four. Givy says. Well, I'm actually that's interesting. Why definitely not? But yeah, we can discuss it. All right. Yeah. So mostly all of them been attending some sessions in Bain. Think it I might like that. You have also boutique firms focused on sustainability. Thank you, Shish. Yeah, because of work audit mainly in all four. Wow, give it. We have such experienced guy here. Cool. All right. All right. So let's move on. Uh, do we have any other questions? Which company? No, I think you're good, guys. Yeah, I think we can move on. And let me first briefly introduce you our coach. Today we have Andrei Homlenko. He had a tremendous career for like past 8 years. He's been coaching his mentees to get into consulting companies And his career started in 2014. He worked in top consulting firms in Kiev, in Dubai, and Munich. And now he's here with us, helping you with your life. So let me introduce you my chief and my friend, Andrei Homulenko. Andrei, word to you.
Right, Anton, thank you very much. I had the privilege to work in consulting for more than 6 years in one of the major consulting firms, and I was also actively part of the recruiting process. And therefore, today I was just thinking about, guys, would you like to feel how to know how it really feels about to sit in front of you, like to be in the interviewer's position? Would you like to better understand what does the interviewer, he or she, thinks about the whole process? How does the other side, how does the recruiting works, what they're looking for, what they're thinking? Like if the person is interviewing you, what's happening in his or her mind? Just please put yes or no in the comments so that we can see whether you are interested about it. Okay, I see yes from Sakil, yeah from Anton, yeah from Anastasia, yeah from Camden. Yeah, I think that's pretty obvious that you are here because of that. Yeah, and therefore, if you would like also to keep in touch with me personally, feel free to send me a friend request or follow me through one of the social media links, which will now appear in the chat, so that we can stay in touch. Feel free to visit our website, consultingmasters.com, to find more interesting information, or simply on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, you will find additional information about me, my life as a person, the insights which I'm sharing about consulting, and so on and so on. And also, I would strongly encourage you to use our YouTube channel, especially if you watch this video online. Please leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get notifications about our future upcoming invites. And also on our YouTube channel, if you subscribe, you will find additional information about the whole recruiting process, application documents, and you will get basically 99% of your questions answered by me and my colleagues and experts from Consulting Masters in some of these videos. So I would strongly encourage you to subscribe. And otherwise, you can also follow Consulting Masters in the social media simply by clicking on the links below. Yeah, Anastasia, I would also, just guys, feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel and leave your comments over there if you have any questions and would like to get the answers to them. All right, so let's now talk about how does the interview and recruiting process looks like from the company's perspective. And by the way, if I kindly can ask you, guys, I don't like to talk to the black screens, so it would be really nice and polite from you if you can turn on your cameras. Otherwise, it's just very difficult to continue. So, remember, after you have applied, only a few of you will be invited. In fact, only 10% of the applicants will actually get a chance to get interviewed by the consulting companies. So if you are already invited for an interview, my congratulations. You can consider yourself to be very lucky among these 10% who actually did it to an interview. And then the typical interview process, when I would say typically 10 candidates are invited for a consulting day, or like 10 candidates are in a batch, and the company and the special recruiting team are looking for that top one talent among those 10 people whom they want to hire, whom they want to get an offer, to give an offer. So therefore, they do a very selective process, which consists of several stages. In the first call, it's typically could be a very brief HR screening call, interview, roughly 30 to 45 minutes, where you will get a chance to speak either with the recruiter or with a consultant who's playing the role of the recruiter. And these calls will be mostly about yourself, about your motivation, about your background, about things that you are interested in, your motivation for consulting, your motivation for specific company, etc. And afterwards, or maybe sometimes before that call, sometimes after that call, you might get invited to complete an analytical test to prove your abilities. So there are different types of tests, and like I would say that every company does some individual work. I mean, there is BCG potential test as described here. There is McKinsey imbalance game, or Roland Berger does something also quite challenging with three components in the tests. The one testing your logical skills, the other testing your math skills, and the third one testing your linguistic skills. So all of these tests are challenging, and they are also part of the application process. So therefore, make sure that you're really ready for them. And only then, after you have passed their screening call as well as their test, you could be invited to another, I would say, 4 to 8 interviews, depending on the company and on the position. So it's 2 rounds of interviews with at least 2 to sometimes 3 or 4 interviews in each round. And you will be basically speaking with 4 up to 8 different people before actually receiving the job offer. And today in this session, I would like to focus with you on what's actually happening in those interviews and how does the interviewer perceives it from his or her perspective. So feel free also, ladies and gentlemen, to put your questions anytime in the chat, either on YouTube or if you are watching us live, or here in the Zoom, if you are part of this translation, so that we can have a lively discussion. Okay. Now, I want to explain you what are the main parts of every interview. So typically, an interview lasts for 45 to 60 minutes. And each interview usually consists of 3 major pillars. Number 1, the interviewer is always interested to get to know you better as a person. So there will be some personal fit part as well as behavioral part of the interview. And then after you have answered those questions, you are typically guided to solve a case together with an interviewer. And at the end of the interview, for the last 5 to 7 minutes, candidates like you usually get the chance to ask a few questions, typically 2, to the interviewer. And therefore, guys, just make sure that you are ready and very well prepared, both for the personal fit part as well as for the case part of the interview. And think about what are very good questions that you can ask the interviewer, so that to make sure that you leave a very, very good impression. Now, let's jump into the first part, the personal fit part and the behavior. So what I typically, what other leading consulting companies expect from the candidates and the interviewer that they are looking for in the candidates are the three things. These are typically the leadership, personal impact, and entrepreneurial drive. So as for the leadership, as an interviewer, I used to ask different types of questions, but typically there was something about like, did you tell me about the time that you were leading the team? Or do you have an example when you was an unofficial leader? Or how do you motivate people? Or tell me about a time when you were in a team that had a conflict and was keeping it from achieving its objectives. And how did you solve it? Or how did you contribute to solving this? So these are the typical leadership examples that I, as an interviewer, prompted my candidates to answer. Or the second most frequently asked type of questions in the behavioral aspect was about personal impact. Like, imagine I am an interviewer and I am asking you as a candidate the following question, like, did you tell me about a time when you had to convince someone to change their mind on something important to them? Or like, tell me about a difficult situation where you had to rely on your communicational skills. Or what do you want to be remembered for and how are you achieving this? Guys, can you maybe write in the comments, how would you answer this question? Like, what would you like to be remembered for and how are you achieving that? So just write into the comments and we will see who of you has the most interesting story. And Anton is happy to help me to moderate here. Or the third aspect could be also the entrepreneurial drive. So have you ever had a goal that you were not able to achieve? What did you do? Or another option is like, could you tell me about a time when you dealt with a tough problem? Or what was your biggest failure and how did you cope with that? Yeah. All right. So can you maybe write me also about your biggest failures and how did you cope with that in the chat? Simply use that function and you can receive live feedback on your stories. And now, put yourself into my shoes. So imagine that you are basically talking like you are an interviewer and you have to deal with the candidate. So Anton is an interviewer or let's say is an interviewer and I am a candidate. And what Anton, when he is speaking to me, is thinking about is like how to basically to assess me. In order to do so, he has a comprehensive evaluation grid. And this is an example of how a real consulting evaluation grid looks like. So you see here, so this is, for example, for the first interview round on the personal fit part, and on the following page, there will be for the second interview part. So you have here the most common approach, which is like in different companies, it has different meanings, but usually it's to see whether the candidate is using a situation complication solution approach. Like whenever you are asking or answering the questions for a consultant, for example, the ones that I just showed to you, the candidate is expected to answer all of them in a structured way. And then you see here different parameters. You see here the rankings, like for example, from 1 to 5, where number 1 is, of course, should be your goal, how to exceed the expectations, and the 5 is just miserable, doesn't meet the expectations. And then there are actually 4 criteria which are tested into the personal fit part. These are intellectual curiosity, your communication skills, emotional resilience, as well as creative thinking and diversity of thought. So while Anton is leading an interview with me as a candidate, he's thinking about like, how do I perform in all those different buckets? So for example, about my intellectual curiosity, whether I am possessing a strong desire to learn, or whether I'm delving deeply into an issue and going beyond the surface level of understanding. So it actually means whether I have an ability to get really deep into the issue tree, or whether I'm just having a helicopter view and not wishing to get deeper into the details. It's also about finds a wide and diverse set of topics, interesting and compelling. And then that's number one in terms of intellectual curiosity. By the way, guys, are you able to follow me? Is it something interesting for you? Just leave your comment into the chat, whether to see so that I can get some feedback on whether you are interested to find out what actually happens behind this. Do we have any answers in the chat, Anton?
Not yet, but I'm all in here. I'm so interested in how to assess people.
If we're talking about communication skills, so like what are the set of criteria that that the interviewer is actually looking for in the candidates? So when I was interviewing people, I was always trying to look for the following criteria. Whether the candidate is clearly and persuasively articulates information to others. So basically, whether you are able to convince me, in other words, or whether the answers questions from others in the sufficient and assured manner. So again, this is like your ability to present yourself and to convince others. Whether you are able to adapt your communication style effectively to the audience, whether you are actively listening, especially to ensuring understanding of the perspectives or concerns of others. So this is like, you need to show also your empathy during the interview, being empathic towards your clients in future. And then whether you are writing clearly and logically communicating, whether you are developing presentations that flow logically and clearly convey the key messages, or whether you are able to independently lead and facilitate meetings and discussions with others. So based on these criteria, again, I would be ranking you from 1 to 5, whether you are good enough or not. Make sense? All right, then in that case, let's also have a look into the second. Yeah, so I see that Havani finds it very interesting. Yeah, Anton, Anastasia. Yes, all right, very good. Cool, guys. So in the second interview round, during the personal fit part of the interview, I would probably asking you some stressful or challenging questions in order to test your emotional resilience and creativity and basically diversity of thoughts. So especially in terms of emotional resilience, so-called stress testing, I will be asking difficult questions, something like, are you sure you're good enough for our company? What makes you think so? Or can you maybe tell me, Anton, why do I need to hire you? Can you tell me the reason? So Anton, why do I need to hire you for a consulting master's? If you remember,
I'm a hard worker, but with not a helicopter view on the theme. Yeah, how do you like it?
If you remember,
It's to know.
I basically asked you this question when we had our recruiting call. Yeah, but in fact, as an interviewer, I used to task candidates with this sometimes very challenging questions, just in order to see how you are able to adapt to situation and whether you are socially agile when interacting with others, but also perceive how you can perceive issues through their perspective of others and convey this when interacting with them. But one of the most important things is client readiness, which is also tested during the final interview rounds by the partners, is basically the ability to see whether the candidate is mature enough to be sent alone to the client to accomplish the mission, and whether he or she is remaining calm in difficult circumstances and especially in the conflict situations. That's about the emotional intelligence. And as for creativity thinking and diversity of thought, I'm always trying to understand in the candidates whether they are able to generate innovative solutions to the problem, and also how good they are structuring their creativity, because everyone can brainstorm, everyone probably knows how to list down some of the things, but only a few people know how to do that structurally correct and in a comprehensive manner, to be so-called, to fulfill the MISI requirement. MISI stays for mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive, and it basically means that if you are brainstorming, I'm expecting you to brainstorm completely and cohesively to explain all the different points of view and ideas that you might be getting. So guys, I just want to hear some of your feedback. Would you like to know what are the top mistakes that candidates usually do during their personal feed part, and how to go about those mistakes? Please write down into the chat, or maybe you have also some questions about the personal feed part of the interview or behavioral stories and aspects which you would like to clarify during this webinar. I also see that there is, in the meantime, a comment from Camden that I want to be remembered as a person not complacent in success, but rather continuously seeking out new knowledge, always happy to seize opportunities and help others. And yes, very interesting. Yeah, Camden, my compliments, or how we say it in Switzerland, chapeau in French. Yeah, very, very good contribution from your side. All right. So, anyone interested in knowing what are the most common mistakes in consulting interviews? Yeah, sure. All right, cool. So, I would say that most of the candidates whom I interviewed who didn't make it to the final interview rounds or to the offer, they shared some certain pattern, I would say, in their behavior. There were some commonalities for most of them, and especially during my coaching career, as we've helped 594 people to get job offers from all the major consulting firms worldwide, it became clear to me what those patterns typically are. So what I see from my day-to-day practice of coaching other people, I can see that unfortunately many of you guys watching this video are not taking this interview preparation seriously enough. Maybe you are not aware about the fact that out of 100 candidates, only actually one will be selected and get the job offer. And yeah, 90% of the candidates will not even pass the interview stage. Yeah, that's the fact. So taking the preparation seriously enough is really, really very much important. Yeah. The second most common problem is that most of the candidates have a lack of knowledge and they don't know what to expect in the real interview because they have never experienced it before. And interviews in consulting are really different than interviews in other industries, especially due to the case part of the interview. Therefore, I'm trying to do all what we can do with Consulting Masters team to help educate people, to tell more about these kind of things, so that the broader audience knows better what to expect during the consulting interviews. Yeah, then again, I faced so many circumstances when people came to me just few days before the actual interview, so they don't actually have even the time for adequate preparation, and this is already leading them for the failure. And as a consequence, yeah, people cannot answer personal fit questions in a very structured way, and they show to be very underconfident and overwhelmed during the interview. And if you start the interview from the wrong foot already during the personal fit part, then it's almost obvious that you will bomb also the case. So in fact, I can tell you, even after the second minute of the interview, whether the candidate will bomb it or not. So I can see the actual losers of the interview straight at the very beginning. So when I see that someone is not able to present himself or herself, or someone is not able to tell me a very simple answer to the question like, why do you want to work in consulting? I can already say, okay, it's a no-go. And in fact, I can even stop the interview at that particular moment with that candidate, because I know that it's not gonna work even later. So the candidate will not be able to improve. Yeah. How come? One of the questions from the chat. It's due to experience, because if I see that the candidate is not able to explain himself or herself logically in the first two questions, then he or she will not be able to ace even more difficult questions later on, which I think is probably obvious. Yeah. What are the markers? The markers are typically the underconfidence of the candidate, as well as lack of structure in the communication. All right, let's leave the questions maybe to the Q&A sessions later on. And now let's move on to the assessment criteria during the case part. So in the case part, we typically assess 4 different criteria, which are analytical skills, critical thinking and problem solving, creative thinking and diversity of thoughts, once again, as well as ability to learn. So here in the analytical skills, it's very important for the candidates to be able to conduct high quality analysis and creatively examine the data. So work with the exhibits that you will get during the case interview. And in those case exhibits, it's very important that you explain the interviewer what do you see on one hand, and on the other hand, you look for some insights. So you work with data that you receive. Maybe you can analyze the graph, or maybe you can do some computations in the table whatsoever, or do some qualitative and quantitative analysis based on the data that you are given. And after you have completed all of this, then it's really important that you tell the interviewer the answer to two main questions. Number one, so what? Number two, what's next? So that you are really leading the discussion. So for example, you have seen a table, you have analyzed and came up to the conclusion that one of the segments is stagnating increasingly and causing actually 80% of the entire problem. Then your next logical step is to dig deeper into that problem, and then to request additional data. So you can ask the interviewer whether the interviewer has an additional information about that specific segment, so that you can analyze the problem in more details. Is it now understandable for you guys? Can you just tell me whether you are able to follow me? Because yeah, maybe it's just becoming too comprehensive for you. Yeah, then the second aspect is, of course, your ability to think critically and solve the problems. How good you are at structuring problems in a manner that facilitates solving. How good you are able to develop comprehensive hypotheses, or generate compelling insights, or synthesize complex analysis and generate high priority conclusions and recommendations. This is the central part of your analytical skills and the case part, which is tested. And then in the diversity of thoughts, it's your ability to generate innovative solutions to a problem, or contribute to a synergetic manner to generate new ideas and perspectives when working with others. And then at the very end, last but not least, it's also your ability to learn. So it basically means how quick learners new information and acquire expertise, or that you are readily masters new skills and abilities, or you retain and easily access new knowledge. All of these could be tested during the interview.
Andrea, we have a question from the audience.
All
in
right.
your opinion, Ashish asking, in your opinion, critical thinking and problem solving for consulting, is this something that can be developed?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, there are certain instruments to do so, and that's what we exactly coach. So, I mean, we are helping you, Ashish, or other candidates to develop all those critically necessary skills and to gain the confidence for the personal fit part, so that you can optimally pass the interview rounds one by one and ultimately get a high paid and very well reputed job. That's the objective of our company. So yes, it needs to be developed actually. Okay, guys, would you like to know what are the most common mistakes in the case part? Just raise your hands or put yes in the chat. Yeah, okay, sure. So here we go. As for the case part, I think that one of the major difficulties here is that so many candidates come stressed already through the personal fit part, and therefore they are not able to start the case solving on the right foot. And therefore, they are also not able to follow the structured process of the case solving, and having so many difficulties with them. I would say that one of the major and key parts of this structured process is to ask clarifying questions straight at the very beginning of the case. So many candidates that I have seen did not ask these questions and they skipped them, and therefore they actually bombed the whole interview, which in my experience, was not really productive. And the structure, therefore, in those cases was not very comprehensive. So the candidates were not able to come up with a really good structure. And therefore, last but not least, I have seen so many candidates who leave the discussion to the interviewer, who are not driving actively the case by themselves. And in fact, I, as an interviewer, I am expecting you to lead this discussion. So therefore, it's really critically important that you are in the driving seat and not me as an interviewer. It's your discussion. You are applying for this job, and it's your job to convince me that I should hire you. So don't leave me a chance. Drive the discussion on your own. Okay, yeah, and then what comes as a result, maybe the last part of the assessment of the candidate. So based on everything that we have described before in the personal fit part and in the case part, the interviewer, so I needed to take the decision whether based on the personal fit part of the discussion, whether the candidates align with the company's core values. So on the fit part, whether you are, for example, authentic or collaborative or entrepreneurial or problem solver or forward thinking, etc. Yeah, just very simple answer, yes or no. Then secondly, on the case part, whether there were some issues to be probed or some other notes, especially for the second or next interviews or interview rounds. And then I need to give you a rate, like a mark. So how did you end up? Whether you were a non-flyer with 5 or whether you were an outperformer with 1. And then finally, it all leads to the conclusion recommendation, whether you passed or did not pass this interview. And guys, in the whole consulting process, you need to make sure that every interviewer will give you the best, because if one interviewer is doubting on you, then you probably need to accomplish additional interview. But if there is at least one person who says, no, it's actually not, then it's definitely a rejection as a result of you. So, and now you can imagine, we were talking about 6 interviews that you need to accomplish through the entire process. So every of your interviewers, starting from senior consultant up to the partner, would need to fill out such a form for you as a candidate to give that feedback further, and then discuss this with the colleagues. So guys, can you just tell me, like, would you like to know what happens behind the closed doors in recruiting? Or do you have an idea?
I think this is why people here, you know,
yeah.
find what's happening there.
All right, cool. So basically, how does the whole process look like? You can imagine that you had a first interview round with 3 to 4 interviews in a row. You were invited by a company, and then consultants like me and other my colleagues who were interviewing you, we would either sit together if the meeting is taking place physically, or we will be having a phone conference, and we will basically discuss how did every candidate form, what was his or her strengths and weaknesses. And based on this, we will define maybe 30 to maximum 50% who will actually go to the next interview rounds. So, and every time there is like this kind of discussion, and there needs to be a consensus. And of course, the hierarchy matters. So if I didn't like the candidate, but I'm just a junior consultant, but the partner totally liked the candidates, so he is a higher tier in the hierarchy, so his words might be in some cases mattering more. But if there are at least more than one critical word, even partner can't do anything about it, no matter how he or she liked the candidate that much. So there should be some sort of consensus here, so that only the best candidates get the chance to continue the interview process. And this basically goes up until the final interview rounds. And should you be in the privileged position that you are passing the whole interview, then there is a very positive feedback, and then the recruiting lady is starting to work on your contract, so that an offer could be sent to you very, very soon. That's basically about the whole process. I would really encourage you to write down your questions in the chat so that we can answer all of them, especially those questions which really matter to you. But before we move on to that, I really want to share with you some of very, I would say, best practices and best type of advice that I can only give you as an interviewer. Number one, always try to enjoy it. Always try to relax yourself, because you are very lucky. You are already invited to that interview. So therefore, it's highly beneficial for you to simply relax and enjoy it. I would also encourage you, the day before the interview, just forget about the preparation and simply try to enjoy it. Go to the gym or go for a walk or play with your dog or do the things which you really love and which you enjoy, so that next day when you have your interview, you could be really in a very, very good mood. Number two is always bear in mind that the interviewer doesn't really want to harm you. So if I'm critical on you during the interview and I'm your interviewer, it's not because I don't like you. It's simply because I'm facing clients who might be really very challenging. And my key job is to test you right now at this particular day and at this moment, whether you are able to do this job. And what I'm thinking about, a few things. Number one, whether I would like to work with you personally. Number two, whether you are fitting into our company and to our values. And number three, whether you are capable to do this kind of job. So as you see, capability comes only third. And what's really most important here is the interpersonal contact. So please make sure that you treat your interviewer, him or her, as your future colleague. You can simply imagine, like I tell my clients to imagine that you are talking to a celebrity. So try to enjoy it. Therefore, be friendly, be enthusiastic, be proactive. Show also your genuine interest in the interviewer and your curiosity about problem solving, especially if you will be confronted with challenging situations, just take a step back and try to review and summarize the problem and the outcome one more time, and then try to attack it from a different angle. Yeah, and if you are talking to your interviewer, just do your home task. Read read in advance something interesting about him or her, so that you can put really nice questions to that person at the end of your interview. Then I think it's still worthwhile to repeat it one more time. Please make sure that you always drive the case and the discussion in that interview. I would probably, if I were to give you two pieces of advice, that would probably be among those two, because this is really very, very important. And by the way, if you are watching this video on YouTube, it's time to put a like or leave a comment and subscribe to our channel and activate notifications to stay tuned about our future events. And then also, don't forget to think out loud and explain every step as you are going through your interview process. And last but not least, it's probably one of the most important pieces of advice. And if I were to give you only one piece of advice, that would be smile, laugh, and stay cool. So basically, enjoy it. Guys, what do you think about it? Just write into the comments. Are those tips useful for you? And for now, I actually want to give a gift to some of you. You know that consulting is a very competitive industry, but we can help you at every stage of the process, and like really starting from polishing your CV up to setting up your interviews and help with networking, as well as case interview and personal fit interview preparation part. And you have a chance to apply for our support and for our help. And you only if you selected of you, you will get a chance to have a strategy session with our expert, which can bring a lot of clarity to where do you stand and what do you specifically need to do and how to achieve your goals. So it consists of basically 4 key aspects. So together with our experts, we will have a look into your situation, analyze it. We will provide you with the feedback. We will give you the personal advice and approach. And then we can also align on the points that you need help with to accompany you to the way to help you to receive your future offers in consulting. If you are interested in that, then just send your CV and a brief motivation, maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs about yourself and your motivation for consulting would be sufficient enough. So please send your document and message per email to us to customer.service@consultingmasters.com, and our expert will select the best of you, and you can basically have then a free call with him or her, and we are more than happy to help you on your way into consulting. Here are again the steps. So make sure that you can take the step towards your dream job today and apply for that call. And we are looking to stay in touch with you. For everyone watching this video, or for everyone now here in the room, please also subscribe to our YouTube channel to find out even more useful materials, recordings from the previous webinars on different topics, and hit the subscription button as well as activate notifications to get invited to our future events. as well as follow the stories of our clients and all the other different content that we do have there. I also want to encourage you to join us in our future events. And I would kindly ask you to tag us in social media, whether you are active on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, and share our materials with your friends and colleagues who are also interested in consulting. And I also want to inform you that on Monday, 14th of November, we have a next really cool webinar, which is dedicated to a real life consulting interview simulation, which we are going to do in collaboration with the University of Zurich, ETH Zurich in Switzerland, and the University of Basel, how to crack a profitability case. So it actually starts on Monday, 14th of November, and feel free to register to the link through the website, which will now appear in the comments. And I'm more than happy to see you there. And maybe you want to crack the case together with us and learn how to do that. So yeah, and for now, I'm more than happy to answer all of your questions if you do have any.
Okay, Andrea, thank you for this cool webinar. We have a question on YouTube. What is more important for candidate to be a good speaker or a good listener if you're in the college seat? So is it important to be a good listener if you're...
Hi, Anastasia. Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for your question. Yes, it's actually very important to be a good listener, especially in the case part of the interview, because when I'm giving you the case, your first job is to better understand the case and really make sure that you totally understood it. So your step number one in the whole process is probably to paraphrase the case question and to make sure that you completely understood it. For this, you will require the active listening skills. And your second step is to ask the right clarifying questions, which could be three-folded. This could be the questions to specify the objectives of the case, especially with the KPIs, maybe like, for example, if we're talking about profitability increase, what kind of profitability by how much and until when needs to be increased. Or another type of question could be about business model. So I'm giving you the case about, let's say, oil and gas, and you have no clue about oil and gas. It would be a good idea to ask the interviewer to help you. And you can ask me a question, something like, can you maybe tell me a little bit more about how does the company makes money and what it is its business model? And the third type of question could be the question covering either something about product or service or market or the customer.
Thank you, great. Thank you very much. And we have some more questions here.
I'll ask the audience, for example, Rahma, can you please raise your hand, turn on your camera, and address this question to Andrea directly? Rahma?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi.
Rahma,
Hello.
hi. Can you maybe please turn on your camera and briefly introduce yourself and then ask your question?
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to open my camera and my internet is very bad. So I'm sorry if I'm cutting or something.
Okay, go ahead.
Here in Egypt, they always ask us this question about what is your expected salary? even though sometimes we don't know the average of this position. So I just want to know, how do we approach that type of question? How can we answer that question without maybe if my answer is less than their
Okay.
offer?
Yeah. Well, I think that's Rahma. First of all, thank you very much for your question. I would say that if you Google your salaries for these consulting firms, especially, I would recommend to use the website which is called Glassdoor. So on Glassdoor, you will find typical average salaries for different consulting positions for different companies in different regions. So you can put the company, you can put position, you can put region, and then you will find the results. So let's say, I don't know, business analyst at McKinsey in London receives 60,000 pounds all in with bonuses, while senior consultants with BCG in Zurich office will probably receive 150,000 Swiss francs. So all of this information could be find out in the internet, and therefore you can basically, you will know the range what you can expect. Otherwise, you can tell the range to the interviewer, what do you desire. But in most of the big companies like McKinsey, BCG, Bain, Roland Berger, Strategy and Kearney, etc., there are certain ranges of salaries, and therefore they already know that, for example, a certain position, if you are applying for a junior consultant, let's say you get 60,000. If you are applying for a senior consultant, you get 80,000. If you are applying for a manager, you get 100, etc. So, and therefore they will give you the offers in this range, because the salaries are pretty standardized. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, thank you. Just I have one more question. If they didn't ask me that question, when can I approach them with the topic? I just can't blur out, what about the salary? Sorry?
Can you please repeat?
If they didn't ask the question about what is your expected salary, when can I approach the topic?
You shouldn't approach the topic, because they will definitely ask you about the salary, probably in the final interview round, once you've passed all previous interview rounds. So if you've survived all the interviews successfully, I'm pretty sure that the final interview round with the partner, you will be discussing some legal stuff, something like your salary expectations, plus when you can start, your preferences about what type of projects or practice group you would like to be part of, these kind of things. So don't worry, they will definitely cover it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rahman. We have also a question from Brisky. Can you please turn on your audio and deliver the question?
Hi, Andre. Hi, Anton. Whiskey here from Netherlands. So, simple question, really. I'm curious, when it comes to case interview, when you are doing the interviews, do you have a case, do you have the case answer, or you just really want to check the vibe of the candidates? Thank you.
Sorry, Christy, what was the last one? I didn't recognize it.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do you have the key answer to the case interview questions that you give to your candidates? Or do you focus more on the candidate's approach and the vibe, the frequency of the candidate?
I would say that everything plays a huge role. But in that case, I would definitely say that your approach, the way how you went through the case, weighs for me personally even more than your final answer. But nevertheless, Brisky, make sure that you are able to deliver your final pitch really very well. So, and here is my piece of advice for you and for everyone watching this webinar, how to do that. So, number one, first of all, if I'm urging you to finalize your discussion, please request a moment of time to structure your thoughts. And in this time, make sure that you are reviewing again the case objectives that you have clarified at the very beginning of the case. Then your pitch should be between 45 to 90 seconds. So it should be really brief. It should be highlighting those objectives, reviewing them, then providing specific recommendations to each of these objectives, then backed up by the facts that you figure out during analysis, especially analysis of exhibits and other quantitative data that you have received, and then specifying potential risks if there are any, and mandatory outlining specific next steps. Like I would suggest in the next step, we can do 1, 2, and 3. And then you ask a very simple question to the interviewer. You ask me a question. Do you have any questions? And that's how you should deliver it. So basically, of course, the approach is important, but your final recommendation is also important, especially what you recommend and how do you deliver the speech. Because remember, you are a future consultant and you need to convince me, I'm playing the future client, that you are worth of the money. Because if you are working in Netherlands as a consultant, your daily rate will be exceeding 2,000 euros with major companies. So I, as a client, I need to be sure that, yeah, you are delivering the value, that you are worth the money that my company is paying for your services.
Thanks, Andre. Loud and clear.
Yeah, all right, cool. So, Anton, do we have anyone else?
Yeah, we do. We have Bhavani. Bhavani, can you please ask a question?
Hello. Yeah, can
Hi.
you hear me? Hi.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it would be really cool, Bhavani, if we can also see you.
Yeah, sure.
You can also tell us a little bit more about yourself. Hi.
Yeah, I'm having a doubt. During interview, in case if recruiter asks me some questions related to my technical, or in case if he asked me something about like what was your toughest situation you have ever faced in your life and how did you handle that situation? In case if I don't know the answer, or if I'm not if I don't know how to answer during that situation, what should I do? And how should I convince him or her during that interview period?
Well, Havani, these kind of questions, they are mandatory to be prepared, in all honesty. I mean, if you go with coaching with us, then we will help you to, we will test you and we will help you to prepare these kind of stories. But I mean, if you don't know what to say, that's your own fault. That actually means that you are not prepared. That's one of the top 5 mistakes that candidates does. That's exactly what I was talking about initially. So therefore, these aspects could be trained and coached, and therefore, if you are really interested in going for consulting, I would simply strongly recommend you to apply with your documents for our strategy call session, so that we can basically help you in that way.
Thank you. And also another doubt, how to convince him that I'm really interested to learn something new, which I haven't done in my previous master degree or bachelor's degree. How to make them understand that I'm ready to learn, I'm interested to learn something new.
I think it comes very naturally in your speech, in the way that you are answering your questions in a structured manner, and then it's nothing more than rhetoric, basically, the way how you speak. But it can be also trained, and we're more than happy to help you with that.
Okay.
All right. So if you are interested, then send your documents to the customer service at consultantmasters.com, and our experts can basically help you out and navigate towards the next steps.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Cool. Then
thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Bhavani. We also have some questions from Givi. Givi is raising his hand. Givi, hi.
Yeah, hi. I just want to switch on the camera just a moment. So can you just see me or not?
We see you.
Yeah. So actually, this is kind of sharing my own experience, and I wanted to know your feedback about my experience. So I had an opportunity to go to Germany with Bayer, and unfortunately I failed the interview, and the reason for that was the time frame that I was given to structure and analyze the details was so limited that I could not figure out and just grab all those details with myself. Actually, the case was not so difficult when I realized lately, but actually my major problem was to act very fast in that limited time frame. So I just wanted to know what tips or advices would you be giving me for the purposes in the future. I'm for sure will be continuing to on the journey, but I really need to just concentrate on that part. So maybe anything from related to that specific part of
I mean, one of the tips which we give to our mentees, to our clients, is about time management. So I mean, it's nothing else than simply having your cell phone in front of you, and if you are needing to deliver, I don't know, answers to 3 questions in 15 minutes, then it actually means that you have only 5 minutes per question. Yeah, setting yourself the deadlines pushes you out of your comfort zone, so that you are covering everything. Maybe not in that deep, but you at least have covered everything. Like
I understand, but sometimes the situation might be so challenging that a really bunch of information, a lot of details that you need to grab the most important of that, and so you need to prioritize the tasks, and so it's something might be very, very challenging. So well, I don't know.
The second tip is that, for example, if you are given a written case, so you are put into the stress situation. Imagine you receive, I don't know, 10 pages with a lot of data, and you have only 20 minutes to prepare a presentation. So it's obvious that you won't be able to accomplish it on time. Nevertheless, you put yourself again like a timer. So for example, the last 5 minutes, you leave only to practice something, to practice your answers. No matter how much you would have completed until that time, even if it's not complete, you need to do at least 1 dry run. Again, this is one of the instruments of your time planning. Then now tip number 2 is you start from the end. So you basically read your questions. Instead of reading the entire case, first you read your questions and you understand what are the priorities that you need to set up and what you need to look at. Then, when you go through the case, you simply underline the key buzzwords and the necessary information to answer specific questions that have been pointed out to you. And everything else could be trained with the practice. I mean, there are, of course, a few more instruments and to help you develop your time management skills and to help you to better cope with the situation. Because now we just focused on the time management skills, but there are also other psychological aspects and mental aspects how to develop in that. I mean, we would be happy to help you to cope with that. I would simply suggest get in touch with our team, and then we can see how we can start working together and where to help you, where do you stand. I mean, I had a similar background like you. I came from Ukraine to Germany for studies back in 2008. I got a scholarship from DAAD, which is a German Academic Exchange Service. I have quite a few Georgian friends in the university, and we
Nice to
were
hear that.
singing together and drinking your great wine. So basically, yeah, I mean, I can truly understand your challenges. I've been in these shoes on my own in the past, but it's all manageable.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, Kenneth, sorry.
Thank you, Kiwi. Thank you for this question. And finally, Ashish has been waiting for really long to address his question.
Yeah, Ashish, would you like to turn on your camera, briefly introduce yourself and ask your question?
Hi, Andre. First of all, thank you for hosting this session. This has been really helpful. And my question is, say during the case interview, if midway I realize that I missed something or I'm doing something wrong, or my approach is maybe incorrect, so is it better to just restart and start the problem all over again, or is it better to just carry on with the approach that I had, because I could appear underconfident or unsure, and also the interview does have a time limit. So what would you say?
Yeah, so there are two, first of all, Ashish, thank you very much for your question. I think there are two pieces of advice here. Number one, accept that you already messed up, probably at this stage of the interview. And yeah, I mean, in most of the cases, it will result in their rejection. Okay, bad luck, I would say, but that's fine. Nevertheless, try to complete the case as you've started it, and try to be cohesive and continuous throughout your approach. Don't do the reverse engineering and get back and change something in approach, because it will be just a whole mess. Like, simply try to complete the case as it is, hoping for the best. And number two, you probably will realize something midway that you're going in the wrong direction, simply because you have not, in most of the cases, asked the right clarifying questions straight at the very beginning. That's why my top mistake or observation of top mistakes of the candidates during the interviews was specifically that they forgot they basically forgot to ask their clarifying questions. If you develop the habit that you continuously ask these questions straight at the very beginning, after paraphrasing your case prompt, I'm pretty sure you will be able to avoid these kind of situations moving forward.
Got it.
Yeah, is that helpful?
Yes, very much so.
All right, cool.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you too. Do we have any other questions in the chat?
Nothing in chat, but maybe someone wants to ask a question.
Or raise a
This is
hand?
a chance, guys, to raise a hand. Yeah.
Actually, we have one question in the chat. It's how many nodes you can have to stay in game?
0. Yeah, it's very simple, guys. Consulting is very competitive and therefore very selective. If you have one strong no, yeah, you're out because there are another 99 candidates waiting.
And
And
there is no human factors or something like that.
No. I would say no. And I also went through this system multiple times in my own, and yeah, you need to have all yeses. That's why it's very important to develop your emotional resilience and consistency in your performance to be able to perform and outperform all the times. All right, I think here we are. I would say thank you very much for watching and for staying with us. I would simply encourage you to register for our next webinar on Monday, 14th of November, which will be a real live consulting interview simulation where I will be playing the interviewer, and one of you can play the candidate and try to crack the case, a real life profitability case together with me. So stay tuned. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, as you might be seeing the link in the chat. And yeah, share the information with your friends. Thank you very much. Stay blessed. Enjoy your evening. And hope to see you very, very soon, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. See you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for organizing. And
Thank you, Ashish.
yeah. Ashish, bye-bye.